What's going on YouTube? It's Dan. Good afternoon. And today we're talking about why we soak our seeds. I hope to cover this topic in detail. I haven't found a really good video on this. I've been hard pressed to find good literature and conversations on it. This may be old news to you if you're into horticulture or botany, or you're a farmer, or you're an agriculturalist, or you're experienced Spratarian, or you're totally new. But if you're one of those like four, this may be entirely old news. Hopefully it'll be a refresher. But this is specifically aimed at soaking the seed and nothing else. Not germination, not seed anatomy, not, I have separate videos on those. So let's get into it, all right? We have, I'm just going to show you sort of my methodology for soaking, rinsing, sprouting. We have lentils, we have wheat berries, we have amaranth and quinoa, and we have alfalfa. Now these are easily some of my favorites. They're certainly staples, and they're very easy to sprout. Most of my knowledge is going to come from personal experience and also the literature. I read this book, Seeds. It's titled How Grains, Kernels, Pips, Pulses, and Nuts Conquered the Plant Kingdom and Have Shaped Human History. It's pretty good. It's a very inviting cover in my opinion. And I read this book almost entirely like explicitly focused on this topic, like soaking and sprouting seeds. So my antenna was certainly up for the highlights on that idea. This was written by Thor Hanson, just to give the author some credit. First of all, it's really cool that your name is Thor, like the Marvel superhero. He is a conservation biologist. I'm pretty sure that just means that he's a scientist who's focused specifically on like sustainable practices as it relates to restoring seed varietals. Imbibing is the process of absorbing water right before the seed is about to germinate. So an otherwise dormant seed that you think is not alive, but it is. Its metabolic function is just moving very, very slowly. When it imbibes, i.e. when we soak it and manipulate seeds, sometimes lentils or garbanzo beans, they'll expand double, triple, even quadruple their size. That's the process of imbibing, getting ready to germinate and go through the most explosive growth period of its life. The author describes all seeds here as portable, protected, and well-nourished, protected by their seed coat. He says seeds are mostly in the state of arrested development, and check this out, that can persist for months, years, or even centuries until conditions are right for germination. Now, those conditions are, generally speaking, moisture, soil temperature, and humidity. But, quote, a seemingly lifeless seed recognizes things as diverse as frost, smoke, heat, day length, and the ratios of wavelengths in sunlight. Like, how a seed is that intelligent is beyond me. Or check this out, some seeds have rain gauges, chemically inhibit germination until they feel like the right pressure, the PSI of water. Some seeds even are on pause until extreme flames, such as forest fires, open them up. Some seeds need to feel the microbiotic flora that's inside an animal, and they need those enzymes to actually break open the seed. So every seed has a different germination strategy that is specific to the genes of that seed. I like the term arrested development. And yes, things are simply on pause, waiting until they land in just the right place at the right time to send down roots and to grow. As it relates to, there's something called scarification, and you do this physically. You actually like cut open the seed coat, which dramatically speeds up the process of germinating seeds that have rough seed coats. You can do that with a knife or sandpaper. Some combination of chemical change and physical abrasion probably helps to break the seed's dormancy. And then there's the end result, depositing those seeds in a warm pile of fertilized dung. So that passage, why I highlighted that, is that's referring to seeds that need to imbibe via the process of being ingested by another animal. and it just so happens that nature doesn't make mistakes. Then it goes through the bowel movements and ends up in, fertilized feces that it's evolved and designed to thrive and flourish in. That's just evolutionary consequence, so to speak. That's sort of the dealio from this book. That's why we soak our seeds. It's a bit of sort of science on it, and let's wrap it up. All right, ladies and gentlemen, so let's bring this full circle. We soak our seeds, why? You tell me. We soak our seeds to imbibe them, to speed up the germination process, so that they absorb moisture. Otherwise, that process of germination would likely take a very long time. How much longer? It really depends on the seed. But if you think about like an avocado, not sort of the smaller seeds, the larger ones, for that to break open from its shell, for that to shimmy its way into a nook and cranny inside the soil, for it to absorb moisture, that could take months. It really can, and you can manipulate the entire process, and that's sort of what we talked about so far. That's why we soak our seeds. The other reason, the seed coat, that's not the embryo and not the nutritive tissue. The nutritive tissue, by the way, is where the seed absorbs or uses its nutrition. So all nuts, for example, have fat as the nutritive tissue, fatty acids, whereas wheat has starch and carbohydrates as its nutritive tissue. That seed coat is an enzyme inhibitor for the plant for biological protective reasons, and also to you as well. I soak and peel off almonds, for example, which I have a separate video on. I take off that leathery exterior because it's hard to digest, for anyone to digest. I don't care who you are. I know that that's controversial and whatnot, but watch the almond video. I go more in depth into it. The seed coat is protecting the embryo from germinating until it feels the right conditions and whatnot. Likewise, that reason it makes anything harder to digest. Another reason as well, when we soak seeds, the proteins that are found in that seed turn into easily digestible amino acids. Those fats turn into, those like long chain fats turn into easy to digest fatty acids. Those starches that are covered with tannins and residues, when we imbibe and sprout them, they turn into easy to digest simple sugars and carbohydrates. That is a fact. That it just comes from the literature. Read the science on it. So that's probably news, but it's really interesting, and that should be enough reason, if you're into nutrition, fitness, health, longevity, wellness, flourishing, any of those keywords, you should be soaking your seeds. I'm not sure if gluten just disappears when you soak seeds. Farro, for example. Farro does have gluten in it, but when you sprout it, I don't know if the gluten goes away, but it certainly becomes easier to digest. I can tell you that straight up, fully honestly. So I hope that was a helpful wrap-up little 4 minutes. Hope you learned something. I certainly did by speaking, so thanks for listening. And check out my other videos. Click subscribe, and I'll see you soon.